Hi, this is Sophie, Simon and Ben from That Final Scene.
Yeah, we just want to give a quick shout out to our friends at Amazon Music where you can find this very podcast.
So, let's dive in, shall we?
I said it before and I'll say it again.
That scene, that last scene.
What does it mean?
I'm the dude, you know?
Get the fuck out of here. No, I cannot. That final scene
Starts now.
So we're in my kitchen. I just came back from Portugal, Madeira.
Holiday number very nice.
I would say number 3, like back to back, number 3. And I feel a bit jet lagged, even though I haven't really traveled very far.
The time difference is about an hour, is it?
Basically, I did Athens for 5 days. Then I flew back to London for a night. I then flew to Copenhagen for 4 nights. And then I went back to London for 3 hours. And then in Heathrow. And my flight was delayed, which meant I missed my connecting flight for Madeira. So I slept in Lisbon for a night.
Wow.
And then I got the first flight the day after. And then, I spent 5 lovely days in Madeira, which I didn't even know existed before. Yeah, before I actually went there. So shout out to my boyfriend.
Wicked. I hope he's worth it.
He is.
Nice.
Hope he delivered.
He delivered big time. So I just came back. Oops. Keeping it.
If you're listening, boyfriend,
keeping
well
it
done.
SFW. I just came back. And I'm feeling, just really excited to see you guys. But at the same the same time, fair disclosure to our listeners, I haven't watched much. Oh, actually, we did watch TV at night, and there was this really terrible film with Blake Lively, Taylor Kitsch, and what's his face? I don't even. It's like that kind of B movie that is like love triangle, like a lot of tennis courts. Like I don't even
tennis courts.
Like tennis court. Like they were just playing, just trying to play it hard to get.
There is no more sexual tension than in a tennis match. Everybody knows that. So much grunting.
Oh, who was the third guy?
Love. No, 15 love,
30 love.
But I was kind of reflecting on.
Change the balls.
What is happening? What's the mood today, Simon?
Everyone's a bit giddy. It's good.
No, that's okay. I was kind of thinking of Blake Lively's career and how, I don't know, uneventful it has been over the years.
I can't think of the last thing I actually watched Blake Lively in.
The one with the sharks?
Oh, where she's like stranded in the middle of the ocean?
That was okay. As in, very male gazy, but still like an okay film. But since Gossip Girl, I'm just very disappointing.
Sabrina, was that her? In Gossip
Sabrina?
Girl? Was that her character? No. What's her character's name in Gossip Girl?
Oh, I don't remember the name.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with names.
Crazy posh American name.
Crazy posh, yeah.
Did you watch Gossip Girl, Simon? I didn't. I've only watched a couple of episodes because my girlfriend used to watch it.
I had this girl who was a lodger about 5 years ago that loved it.
She forced you to watch it like a Clockwork Orange.
So was it loud?
I hated it. And also I had to watch EastEnders as well.
Oh, God. What a terrible double bill.
Yeah, that's a terrible double bill.
Gossip Girl was where she worked in like a fashion or publishing or something.
Yes.
Yeah. Great outfits.
There's many of them.
It reminded me a bit of a Devil Wears Prada, but in a TV show format.
In a teenagey kind of, almost teenagey
similar
kind
vibes.
of way. Yeah,
with the guy who's now in You. Isn't that
Penn.
Penn Badgley.
There you go.
Penn Badgley. It's a fantastic
Is that like
name.
a posh English name within an American production?
No. This is that's the actor's name. In Gossip Girl, his name is Dan, but in real life, his name is Penn Badgley.
So, that's the only half film that I watched.
Okay.
But I did.
What was it called again?
I don't know. It was on TV.
Was it dubbed or was it subtitles?
No. And that was quite refreshing because I don't know if I've told you the story about that one time that was years ago, when I went to see Inception on the big screen in Vienna with my sister.
Wow.
And
was it
seeing
dubbed in German or something?
Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio in German, speaking German was quite an experience. So I didn't get a thing.
So we watched, Money Heist on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Watched the first season of that ages ago, and we watched the first episode with dubbed because obviously Netflix, they dub everything. In my head, I was like, we started the first episode, I was like, hang on, I'm almost 99% certain that this is a Spanish program, so why are they all speaking English? And then after a while, I was like, yeah, that mouth is definitely making different like movements to what they should be doing.
I did kind of belatedly finish the season 2 of Only Murders in the Building.
It's crap.
Yes, thank you.
I'm actually just like, I'm not afraid to say
I'm
it. It's
disappointed. Season 1 was so wholesome. Like it was really,
compared to how funny season 1 was, it's just all of season 2 was just cameo. It was like famous cameos from people who didn't need to be there. I mean, the point of Cara Delevingne being in it at all,
nonsense.
I don't even know why. And she's in episodes and then her name is in the titles. It's almost like in her contract she was like, I need to be titled in every episode. Amy Schumer's randomly in it. The whole season is based around like the whole first season is like, okay, it's kind of supposed to be like taking the piss out of Serial and that thing, like, you know, these people making a podcast about a murder in their building and that stuff like that. And that was funny. But in the second season, the majority of the storyline is about Tina Fey basically playing the woman from Serial, and it's just kind of like, oh god, it's just not funny. And every episode is like another needless cliffhanger without kind of telling you anything. And
yes,
yeah, it's not good.
Sounds like a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, it is a lot of podcasts. I hope our podcast is not.
I feel
like
vindicated though, because I thought that, and I didn't bother watching any more of it because I thought the same.
Oh, did you? You watched Only Murders? Did you?
Episodes, yeah.
So I really of the second season or the first one?
First one.
See, I really liked the first one. And the first, like the ending of the first one, I thought was hilarious. Like it was so funny.
I really enjoyed the chemistry among the three in the season 1. In season 2, I felt like it didn't work. I think it's kind of an interesting combination to have someone like Selena Gomez just hanging out with, you know, Steve Martin and what's the name of
Martin Short.
Yes,
Martin Short. Martin Short, I still
so
think is brilliant. He's the best thing about it. Yeah,
he's really, really good. I just thought, that kind of chemistry was unique to see. Like you didn't see that kind of. And then season 2, they didn't have as much screen time together.
No.
Then they tried to explore Selena Gomez's character backstory, and that didn't find that interesting. So it's a bit of disappointment, really. But yeah, if you're listening and you've seen the show, then give us your review, because I'm very interested if it's just us or whether we overthink.
I feel like I've heard people say they liked it, and I've read reviews of people who enjoyed it. But yeah, it just didn't. It was like second album syndrome. It just it didn't hit the heights of that first season.
Yeah. What about you guys? What have you been watching?
Well,
Simon, you have an interest. Yeah,
I've been getting through my list of films that you guys mentioned that I've never seen.
Lovely
stuff. So I watched Dog Day Afternoon.
Woo!
De Niro, not Al Pacino.
No, Pacino,
the
not
other
De
way
Niro.
around.
I always get confused.
Oh my god,
I really enjoyed it.
So well acted and directed, actually. Yeah,
it was pretty funny and clever how you ended up feeling sorry for people that you didn't expect to feel sorry for.
What else?
Love
Prestige.
it.
Yes.
Locked in.
Yes.
Get in. What did you think?
They were twins.
Spoilers.
Oh, hook it to my veins.
Very
God, I
naughty.
fucking love that film. What did you think?
I knew he looked similar, but it totally worked on me. I didn't get it until the end.
What's the lesser good version?
The
of
Illusionist.
Yes,
The Paul Giamatti
right?
and Edward Norton. I think.
Yeah.
That came out I think the same year.
Same year. Oh, that's a
but I think
disappointment.
I think
Maybe a bit later.
2005. They were like, one was 2005, one was 2006. I think.
Right.
But
okay.
The Prestige
Yeah.
was just so much better.
Yes.
Oh god,
Yeah.
I love that film.
How does it stack up to the other Nolan films that you've seen, Simon?
Compared to like Inception
Interstellar,
and the
Inception,
Batmans and
Batman.
Interstellar, yeah.
Very different vibe-wise.
Okay.
But still playing with time, I guess.
I think
Still on
that's
the
his,
time
that's
thing.
his, yeah. I think-
Because I guess one of the illusions is that he appears to go through one door on one side of the stage and quickly pop out the other, and you're like, oh, is there time travel involved? And by the end of the film, he's got you actually thinking, could it be magic? I don't think I would have been able to tell you it was a Nolan film if I didn't know.
Yeah, it's an outlier because that's his first and only period, Dunkirk aside.
Dunkirk doesn't really feel like a period piece. Dunkirk feel like,
it's
Dunkirk
actual
is like
history, I guess.
and it's just a wall of sound for 2 hours. It is. I mean, I have issues with Dunkirk, but it's the one that kind of there's like elements there that you're like, you would say it's an element, like the cast, Christian Bale, Michael Caine are in there, and there's other, certain elements to it. But,
Bowie.
Oh yes,
I was like, that looks really like David Bowie,
but also
it sounds like him.
But Bowie and Andy Serkis is his assistant as well. Andy Serkis from who does all ADR and stuff like that. Who's Gollum and Caesar in Planet of the Apes. He's his assistant.
Oh right.
Such a good cast in that film, and Scarlett Johansson as well is one of the love interests.
Yeah, is she the one with the iffy accent?
Yeah,
where it kind of goes really posh and then really cockney.
I love you, Robert.
She always has iffy accents.
She should have just stuck with one, like,
Yeah.
or just not being English. I wouldn't have even minded if she'd just been herself. I would have preferred that.
Yeah,
Exactly,
Rebecca
yeah,
Hall
keep her
was,
American,
was much more interesting. Yeah.
And
Who?
Rebecca
Oh,
Hall.
I love Rebecca Hall.
Yeah.
It's a really fancy.
she's
her.
Christian Bale's wife in it, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole thing that the twin falls in love with Scarlett Johansson. Yeah.
I love her too. She's so good.
I first saw her in Starter for 10,
Oh, okay.
the film with James McAvoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he cheats on
I remember
on a
that
University
film.
Challenge game show, and Rebecca Hall's the love interest in that.
That's like James McAvoy's first feature, I think, or one of his
Must have
first.
been
Yeah.
very early.
way,
film.
way back in the day, that film. It's Bale at his best. I think he's great. And even Hugh Jackman. Everybody loves a bit of Jackman. Which we should talk about him joining Deadpool.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That Hugh Jackman's been announced to be returning as Logan in Deadpool, who Tim, our friend comedian of cinema, has had some thoughts on Instagram. I'm sorry, Tim, if I'm paraphrasing you wrong, but that, Logan should have been the end. Like we didn't need more of him, and even though it's supposedly like, Logan's set in 2029, this is set in 2027 or whatever, like years before. Like it doesn't matter. Logan should just be the end. I get that. I get that stands up. For me, though, Deadpool is just supposed to be subversive and kind of
Banty.
Yeah, and as someone who I'm really falling off the Marvel bandwagon at the minute. Like I haven't watched She-Hulk yet. I don't even know if I'm planning, like I don't really know what the release window is for the rest of the year. I'm just really tired of it, especially after watching Thor Love and Thunder. That was just a waste of time. But Deadpool, I'm like, okay, we're finally getting the teased for years of, and if they keep what they had with Fox at Fox with Deadpool, they keep it the same kind of humor. They allow it to be, R-rated and stuff like that. I think it'll be good because like the second one's great, with Josh Brolin and the kid from Hunt from the Wilder People. Absolutely fantastic. And I think they could do a great job of that. And Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman seem to have great chemistry anyway. So to then bring him in as Wolverine, I'm all for it. I think it'll be
it's
great.
a matter of writing, really, because you got all the
100%.
other ingredients. It's just a matter of writing because you don't want, at the same time, you don't want to take that character and turn him into Deadpool. Like get that kind of humor infused into Logan and Wolverine as a whole,
And
because
also,
it doesn't work.
I wouldn't want to. I don't want them to do what they did with Cable.
Or Thor, even.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it could just be like Cable in the second Deadpool, where it's like the gruff guy who works as Deadpool, who they secretly like. They have to do something a little bit different with it, even though that is kind of like Logan from the comic books as well.
Yeah.
I think, to be fair, Reynolds seems to have a bit of a gatekeepery vibe with Deadpool, and that he's kind of like,
he's very hands-on.
Yeah, very hands-on. Like that's why it took them so long to get the first one made, and then the second one was very much true to the first one as well. The people behind it seem to have a very much of, if we're doing it, we have to do it right. We have to do it in a way that we keep the tone. So I'm hopeful for it.
And I also trust Hugh Jackman on that front.
yeah.
I feel like he's been very protective of the character too.
Fun fact: me and Hugh Jackman share a birthday.
What?
There you go.
Do you know what's your age difference?
Oh, like 30. There's like 30 years between. No, not 30 years. Sorry,
quite
that would
old?
make him like 58.
He must be around 50.
He must be in like his mid,
47?
like late 40s, maybe
Yeah.
early 50s. Yeah, I would have thought. He still does like theater all the time. He does like stage
Really?
shows and
Does
everything.
he
Yeah,
still?
he's like
Such a talented man.
he's a musical theater guy, like
Yeah.
singing, dancing right the theme tune, singing the theme
Yeah.
tune.
Greatest Showman.
The musical theatre recently put on.
Yes, I was actually. Yeah, so I went to see Matilda last week.
Oh, how was that?
Oh my god, it's so good.
West
It's
End?
incredible. Yeah. I was kind of I didn't really know what to go in expecting. Obviously, like I love the film and I love the book.
Yeah, how did you end up getting tickets for
So my
it?
sister came to visit and she wanted to go and see it. So we were just like, oh yeah, why not? And it's been something I'd been meaning to see because me and Si were talking about this earlier. It's all the music's written by Tim Minchin and he's
Legend.
amazing. Like he's one of the funniest comedians out there and just an incredibly talented musician. Listen to his song F Sharp if you want to just hear an example of how brilliant he is musically. In the way that Roald Dahl kind of did. Like there's stuff there for the adults. Like it's entertaining for everybody. But yeah, it's like,
Roald Dahl famously hated children, didn't he?
I think so. Yeah,
What?
The irony.
yeah.
Wow.
But
Some of it is quite dark, isn't it?
It is quite
yeah.
dark.
Well, like the characters, even the
Bullying.
the Trunchbull
Yeah.
in Matilda is like a terrifying character,
Yeah.
but very funny in it. Like a lot of crying children in the second half, and the Trunchbull starts putting people in the chokey.
Yeah.
Which sounds
In
like
the what?
in the chokey.
In the what?
The chokey?
What? Oh, well, like choking them.
No. So in Matilda, so Simon hasn't seen Matilda clearly. So the Miss Trunchbull is the principal of the school, and she's like the baddie of the story, and she has this thing in her office called the chokey, which is basically like a big cupboard that has like spikes and everything sticking out of it. And it's this terrifying thing that if you're bad, you get put in the chokey. Or she hammer throws you. That's another thing she does to a girl, and she grabs a girl by the pigtails and hammer throws her over a fence. It was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. Yeah, I thought it was great. So I would definitely recommend people go and see it.
We're seeing that at London Film Festival in a couple of weeks.
Oh, cool.
It's going to be playing
Is that
there.
on the list?
It's the opening night film.
Wicked.
Oh, wow.
It'd be cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
That'd
If
be
there are
great.
tickets, we can also arrange to go together. But
Yeah, that would be great.
It'd be cool. So, Ben, what have you been
So
watching?
apart from going to see Matilda, so still watching Hot D, House of the Dragon, keeping up with that. It's still major incesty vibes, which is just really hard to watch.
Is it
Really
getting
hooking
better
you
or
in.
worse? How are you feeling about it?
I mean, it's ticking along at a steady pace. I wouldn't necessarily saying it's getting
What, the
better or
incest?
worse. A bit of both, yeah. The incest and the story, they tend to go on like parallel lines. They never really diverge in anything Game of Thrones.
Wow, okay.
And then I'm watching Lord of the
How do you
Rings
get
as
away
well.
with it? Anyway, yeah.
I caught up on House of Power yesterday, or Rings of Power yesterday.
How is that? I haven't seen the last 2 episodes. Same?
Yeah, same. I mean, it's like I
Why
don't
do you
want
always torture yourself with
I
this stuff?
know. I am enjoying it. I'm definitely enjoying it more than I enjoyed Halo. That's for sure. It's definitely better than Halo. The problem is it's everybody will just inevitably will compare it to the original trilogy, which is fantastic. It's not obviously never going to be as good as the original trilogy, but I would say it's on probably a similar level, maybe if a little bit better than The Hobbit, because The Hobbit just wasn't great. And yeah, it's interesting. It's very slow.
And the episodes are long.
Yeah, they're like every episode's over an hour, and like there's just a lot going on. I think there's 10 episodes of the season. See, episode 6 came out yesterday, and things seem to finally be starting to happen.
Okay.
But like 6 episodes in for shit to actually start happening is a bit like, okay,
Yeah, it's not great.
you've done enough kind of world building after 2 or
Yes.
3 episodes that we need to shit needs to start getting done.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if the record has been overthrown since then, but it's The Return of the King and the Titanic that have had the most Oscar
it's
wins.
they won like 12 or something.
Yeah,
didn't
and
they? Most
insane-
wins and nominations in a
I don't
year.
know if that has been that has changed in the recent years, but it's interesting.
I feel like films have gotten similar amount of nominations. I don't know if any one film has won
It
the
doesn't
same
feel like
amount
it, does it?
because it didn't necessarily win. I don't think it won any acting awards. I think people were not. I think like Ian McKellen might have been nominated, but it won Best Picture, and then it just won all of the kind of technical ones like
Yes.
Best Costume, Best Makeup,
Yes.
Best
Maybe
Best
best
Editing.
director?
Word.
No, it would be best maybe cinematography, sound track.
Yeah, I don't know if it won Best. I think there might maybe it did
12
win
is
Best
a
Director.
lot. Like,
Yeah.
12 is a lot.
But yeah,
Think about it.
yeah, it's a fantastic film. Have you
love
seen
it.
the original Lord of the Rings? I assume you have.
No.
Put them on the list.
It's on the list. It's
Do
quite low
and
down.
watch the extended editions. I know you're gonna hate. I know you're gonna hate me saying that, but I mean, Return of the King is 3 hours long anyway. An extra half an hour is not gonna kill you.
Yeah, that's it.
So what, 4 hours?
No, it's about 3.5. I think extended
The
edition.
longest film that I
3.5,
own is Downfall, because that's on 2 DVDs.
Oh, Downfall's like 4
And that's
hours long,
worth
isn't
it.
it?
It's brilliant.
Downfall's really long. Worth it just for all those YouTube videos where people have redubbed
Yeah,
some
the
of
rant.
re-subtitled some
rant.
of the scenes.
How long was The Irishman? It felt like 3.5. It must
Oh
have-
yeah, The Irishman's about 3.5. Yeah,
340
maybe.
Yeah.
Well, the longest film I've ever seen in my life is Doctor Strange. Took about 4 days.
I would say the longest film I've ever seen in my life is possibly Don't Worry, Darling.
Oh,
Really?
wow.
Oh,
That's
naughty.
gonna be such a...
Yeah.
Oh, I love
We'll get onto it, but yeah.
We'll get onto it, you
I
guys.
did watch some TV for the first time in ages in the last couple of weeks. Have you guys seen Industry?
I've heard
Is
of
this
it.
the one on the BBC?
BBC
Yeah.
one.
I haven't
yeah,
watched it, but I've seen some of the ads
So
for
it's
it.
number 2, season 2.
Okay.
And it follows these foreign exchange traders who are quite young.
Is it good?
Really enjoyed it.
Nice.
The second season is much more plot driven and less chaotic than the first one.
Cool.
Oh, so it's season 2 now.
Very, very steamy.
Oh, okay.
Yes, season 2.
I'm watching Bad Sisters as well at the minute, which is quite good on Apple TV.
Where is... Okay, who's playing?
It's kind of like an Irish TV show, but
Okay.
it's been made by Apple. It's like Sharon Horgan, Bono's daughter's in it. What's her name? Eve Hewson.
Okay, that's it. So it
And the
doesn't
guy
have-
who played Dracula in, remember Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss made a Dracula thing a few years ago for the BBC? They did like a 3-parter, the lead guy who played Dracula's in it. It's quite good. It's interesting. It's based off like a Dutch TV show. But I will say this, the one thing to go back to the Rings of Power, I am very much not here for the Irish accents in Rings of Power, and the more I watch, the more annoyed I get.
So they're not Irish accents.
Well, I've been reading a couple of things about it, and I've kind of been like, actually, yeah, I am allowed to be a little bit annoyed about this, about how kind of it's just a little bit lazy of like, and it is a bit annoying that like the kind of the small grubby characters that don't wear shoes drag around caravans and have grass in their hair all have Irish accents. I'm a little bit like,
Stereotype, yeah.
come on now, like it's a little bit like, yeah, the more I watch it I'm like, and yeah.
What, so different tribes within the film have different accents?
Yeah, well basically everybody has English accents except for these things, and they're called the Harfoots, and they're basically like, which is what becomes the hobbits in the Lord of the Rings, these smaller people who in the Lord of the Rings ones they all have like West Country accents. It's just it's like Lenny Henry is the leader of them, and they all have these.
For real?
Yeah. Lenny Henry is playing.
A comedian?
Yes, Lenny Henry.
Really?
Yes.
That's mad.
Him of Lenny Henry Travelodge fame. Yeah, and it's just, yeah, the more I watch it, the more kind of...
Is he doing an Irish accent?
Oh, yes.
God.
Oh, yes, he is. Yes,
That's
yes,
mad.
he is. And it's awful. And it's like, I think people have tried to... I heard an interview with the dialect coach being like, oh, it's not like, they're not trying to be, it's like a generic Irish accent. It's not like trying to be from somewhere. And I'm like, well, that's almost worse. Like, stop trying to justify it and maybe just admit that it probably should have gone in a different direction. But
Interesting it doesn't have any household names, because that's what you would expect from Apple TV Plus. It seems like they're taking like super known actors and directors and they try to, push it to the platform. So
I think Sharon Horgan's quite well known. She was in that one with... what's that American actor, Rob Delaney? Catastrophe.
Oh, was it Catastrophe? Okay.
So she's the lead in Catastrophe with him. And she's like executive producing it as well. And I think like been adapting the script.
Okay.
And Eve Hewson's getting quite well known. Bono's daughter. She was in that Netflix. She's like a psychologist or something weird, but she's kind of making a name for herself now as well.
I'll make it back on Apple TV Plus. That's the one streaming
Are
service.
you still off all streaming services?
Disney Plus. I'm using someone else's, so a friend's, not illegal. So that's it. Yeah, but I'm not on any at the moment. I do eventually need to go back to Now TV because I need to finish Westworld season 3. Which has now ended.
I fell out of Westworld after halfway through season 2.
Yeah, season 2 is bad. Season 3 is good. Like I started watching it.
Aaron Paul's in it now, isn't he?
Yeah. So there's that, and then like Apple TV Plus has the most interesting catalog right now.
What's this?
It's a movie.
No!
Oh, I liked it.
No!
Can I say something?
No!
I don't get it.
What don't you get about it?
In Cineworld, Wood Green, right, the staff are always so friendly and they always want to chat about the film.
Yeah, you were saying that to me before, that everybody's really nice there.
Completely different person this time. Tell me what you thought of the film.
It was quite a lot in the beginning, a bit confusing, but overall, it's an interesting concept.
How many out of 10?
I'll give it like a 7.5.
Too high.
I didn't think it was confusing.
I didn't think it was confusing. I thought it was.
No, it's very.
I thought it was a horrendously basic and overly done storyline.
Like so template. I don't know.
There's about 6 episodes of Black Mirror that do the exact same thing in a much better way. Don't get me wrong. Oh, I'll say this one.
Oh, look, a message from our sponsor.
G.I. Jane 2. Can't wait to see it. Nah, yo, hold my poodle. Hey, yo, what's up? Y'all got a problem? Y'all want some of this? Without much further ado. Here we go again.
Okay, we're back with Don't Worry, Darling. The latest.
Don't worry, darling.
What's happening? Where did that come from? I felt like the title was a bit random, but okay. The film is currently breaking records. I read.
Is it?
Yes, because of the whole drama.
Everybody wants to see it.
Everyone wants to see it. I think I read somewhere that it got like 30 million opening weekend in the US, which is basically like the Avatar record. So it's like it's insane what's happening
James
with the
Cameron
film right
going to re-release Avatar again, even though it's already been re-released.
Probably.
To fucking try and beat
30
it.
million 2 days in the US alone. It's insane
Jesus.
for a film that probably has the 80 million budget.
No, the budget on Wikipedia said 30.
What?
It looked really low budget compared to what I was expecting.
Actually, that's true because almost like not single location, but it is very, it doesn't really use a lot of location.
Yeah. Let me confirm it.
30 should be just the salaries of the actors, though. It seems.
Yeah, budget 35 million, box office 36.4 so far.
Jesus
Okay,
Christ.
so Harry Styles did that for free.
Because he got himself a girlfriend out of it, so he's
there
like,
you go.
What, who's the girlfriend?
Olivia
Wilde,
Wilde.
the director.
Ah, right.
And she was
also-
in the film as well.
Yeah,
she was the
as
neighbor.
Bunny.
So yeah, everyone's talking about the film. So we thought we'd spend a little more time to talk about the actual film. But as Ben said, we're also going to talk about the ending. Where should we start? The drama. I mean, I don't want to give the drama too much airtime because it is what it is.
What drama?
The Spit?
The what?
Oh, you haven't heard of the
Have
whole
you
like
not
Chris
seen- have you
Pine,
not seen
Harry
that?
Styles?
The Spit.
Yes.
At the Venice Film Festival, they screened it. As they were bringing the cast in, they brought everybody in. Chris Pine is sitting there and Olivia Wilde is sitting there. And they bring Harry Styles in. And as Harry Styles comes in to sit down beside Chris Pine, it looks as though he spits on his shoes. It's not just that it looks like it. If you look at Chris Pine's face after he looks at him, Chris Pine's face is this of like, what the fuck? And even Olivia Wilde kind of goes, ha. It's fucking weird. And this was the day after. You might have seen the meme or the TikTok of it. It's a zoom in on Chris Pine's face during one of the pressers where he just looks completely done. He's just like, get the fuck out of here. And it's while Harry Styles is saying, it's like, my favourite thing about the movie is that it's like a real movie, you know. It's like
I've seen that, yeah.
And Chris Pine is literally just like,
Kill me now.
fuck this bullshit. Like,
I think he did the best he could with what he had. I didn't think
100%.
his role gave him much to work with. I feel like
he's barely in it. I feel like he's in 2 scenes. Or he's in 3 scenes maybe.
Yeah,
he's in
it's
the
a
opening, the one where he has the monologue. He's in the weird fucking bizarre scene in the dance hall where Harry Styles does the worst dance acting I've seen in my fucking life.
Should we
Christ.
summarize it though?
To me, without giving too much away, it's about a 1950s housewife played by Florence Pugh. Her name is Alice, who lives with her husband, Harry Styles. What's his name? Jack Chambers. She starts to worry that the company that her husband works for is actually hiding a lot of secrets.
Yeah.
To add to that, the premise is that they live in some sort of experimental community.
Very much my thoughts.
Utopian experimental.
Well, I was like, oh God, if it's just going to be the village, you know, where like it turns out they're in just this big community and then they break out and it's like, oh, hang on, it's the future and we've been living in the 50s. And it's like, you know, I was like, they're going to M. Night Shyamalan it, which they kind of did.
I really, really enjoyed it. I didn't find it like I didn't find it like rewatching something I'd seen before, but maybe because I hadn't watched so many films in this genre before. Mm-hmm. But I thought the editing and the sound design and the way the interplay between the sound and the picture edits was incredible. I thought it was really creative.
Sound and set design.
At times, like they were obviously trying to give the impression of disjointedness and being kind of discombobulated and kind of not knowing what was real and stuff. And there was a lot of montage sequence that I found a bit too much. And I wanted a bit more like straight up talking and plot. But I thought it was really well put together. I really enjoyed it.
I just found it so boring.
I think I find thriller type films where there's injustice really hook me in.
But to be honest,
because
you're like, injustice?
Well, because she's like, I'm not going mad, I'm not going mad, and everyone's like,
so you fell for her.
Yeah.
I guess my issue with it was that, well, I just found it really boring. I like it. It was the least thrilling thriller in inverted commas I think I've ever seen.
Do you like that sort of genre in general?
I really do. And I think
Wait, what genre are we calling it?
Simulation thriller kind of Inception-y, because it does have that kind of...
There's so many different things there's so many different films and TV shows. There's about 4 or 5 episodes of
Black Mirror.
There's so many Black Mirror episodes that just do that. Like the I think it's San Junipero, is that the Black Mirror episode that is basically just the entire story of the film, except this just throws in the element of toxic men, toxic masculinity, and it asks all these questions really towards the end of the film that then it just doesn't really answer. It kind of throws up all of these things that you got, and then the film just ends, and you're like, oh,
yes,
okay, hang on. There would have been something really interesting in it. So there's the thing of why Florence Pugh is there.
What you just touched on there was one of the more interesting elements, which was like the reasons for people being in the simulation.
Exactly.
And
but we only really know the one reason for someone being there is that he's a dickhole man.
Yeah, but remember the neighbor character called Bunny. She's there out of choice, isn't she?
Yeah, but she says that in about a 10-second clip
I know,
towards the end
and
of the film.
I want to interrogate that more.
Yeah, 100%. But
that is so. Yeah, that was such an underexplored storyline, and that's essentially for people who are listening or might be watching. It's the Severance storyline, like Apple TV Plus show. If you want to watch that, like this is exactly the kind of show that you should be watching.
Adam Scott one, isn't it?
Yes.
And it just it. There was so many things in it that it just left me being like, but why this? Like, I wrote down a couple of the questions that I had at the end of it. If it's a simulation, what's the point of the promotions? Who gives a fuck? What does it matter? Why do we keep talking about promotions?
What promotions?
There's this whole thing about him getting promoted.
In his job, you mean?
Yeah. Why does the fuck it matter?
Yeah, we can talk about that, which is more of a question for me, because my understanding was that the men who went to quote unquote work, they actually went to the real life jobs to work, correct? I think that's what I got. And they had the responsibility of taking care of their wives' bodies in the real world as well. That was part of what they had to do. So you remember how he fed her and he kind of, So there's that. The promotion bit, I got that it's more of an incel, like internal hierarchy bullshit because... a bunch of 4chan dudes who want to...
But that's the thing that pissed me off about it. But that's literally it. That the whole movie is just supposed to be like, hey man, there's lots of these dicks on the internet. And it's like, I know there's fucking these dicks on the internet.
Yeah, it was
Could have done it in a much more clever way than just Harry Styles, who's a fucking weirdo, paranoid dude who wants to be James Bond. Basically what it is.
I think that played the whole, like his whole like Jack Chambers persona. I think it played to almost like Harry Styles in real life, who's that kind of... Wonder Boy, the perfect quote unquote, like British accent, the perfect hair, like it's that kind of persona.
What is his accent anyway? Where is he from in the UK?
I think he's from like up north somewhere.
He's a little bit northern, isn't it?
Yeah,
but
I think he's like
Cockney as well.
I think he's a little bit like Huddersfield or something.
He sounds like Yorkshire plus David Bowie, mashed into one.
I mean, we have to remember that in Americans' minds, I think the British accent's a bit of a fantasy and like idolized in a way. So I think this is what he aspired to as a geeky, 4chan-y, like incel-y, American dude in like listening to Jordan Peterson, like Joe Rogan kind of podcast, which is what Chris Pine's character was actually, because he was listening to this like creepy podcast. I felt that number one, I agree with you in terms of the plot twist. It should have been unveiled in the second act.
Yeah, shouldn't happen right at the end. Because
the thing is, the one thing, like my issue with the film is that the moment you reveal the twist, the world outside of the simulation of the community is of equal importance as the one that you're dealing with right now.
Becomes much more interesting.
Like you could talk about FBI, like repercussion, like who is this guy influencing? Why are there no red flags in the real world?
Why?
Like, there are so many.
How does a doctor just go missing?
Yeah,
nobody goes. Hey man, Jesus, has anybody seen? I can't remember what her character's name is.
What did she do with her job?
Like,
you're
Jesus,
right.
Did she just Alice? Where's Alice gone?
Yes.
And her mum or dad like, geez, anybody talked to Alice recently? Oh yeah, her boyfriend Jack just keeps answering the phone and telling us that she's asleep.
Yes.
Like,
so it was a bit of a shame that they focused solely on the characters in the community as if...
It felt like they really rushed it. They were like, we want to keep this movie under 2 hours. It needs to end.
The very final scene... The idea is that she realizes that what she's going through is very much real. She's not crazy.
Yeah.
And she kills her husband by accident in self-defense. And then she
runs...
In
the
simulation, you're right. And then she runs to the headquarters in the desert.
Because, by the way, they've taken the Matrix trope that if you die in the Matrix, you die in the real world.
This is really important, this question, because I didn't know the answer to that. So when she killed him with the
he's dead in the real world.
He died in the real world. Yeah, they said that.
So when she was having the electroshock therapy, was that happening in the real world?
No, it's happening I don't think so. I think it's happening in the...
But it was that therapy that led her to realize that she was living in a simulation and she had another life, wasn't it? Because that triggered all the flashbacks.
No, it's not that. It's him singing the song. That's what triggers her.
Oh, right.
Yes, you're right.
He keeps singing the song that he sings in real life, and because that's the whole thing about the film. She's like, where do I know that song from? And then you see at the end that he sings it in the real world.
When the men in red coats come to drag her away in the simulation and give her the therapy because she's gone mad when she hasn't, why does Jack hit the steering wheel and be like, no? Because why would he care? Because it's just a simulation.
It's not about her pain. It's about the fact that he's been found out by her and that he now has to deal with the repercussions of like, it's a bit of a...
There wasn't enough nuance in Harry Styles' performance to have any of that come across.
Because you know what? I never hated Jack/Harry Styles.
No, not
even though he's like
either.
this, you guys are describing him as this 4chan incel character.
No,
that's
in
terrifying.
the real world,
in the real world, he is.
But therefore I should be hating him. But I never really.
Jack is a character I felt nothing towards.
No, I know. I was like
absolutely nothing.
I didn't feel like he was an evil guy, even though he is, because he's trapped his wife, put those scary things in her eyes.
Yeah, but in the simulation, you're given nothing up until the plot twist about him. Like he is very dark. He literally kidnapped his what he did.
No, but why wasn't I feeling it?
Because of the writing. I think the writing was poorly
the writing, and
put together.
I don't want to just shit on Harry Styles, but the performance is not good.
I thought it was alright.
I thought he was alright too. No,
there is nowhere near enough depth in that performance to make, because my problem
But he's
was,
a shallow guy.
No, but my
He's
problem
just
was but my problem was the exact same thing, is that he knows this the whole time. He knows exactly what this is.
Oh, you mean he could have given more hints?
Well, not even that he could have given more hints,
More
but
darkness.
like more dark. There should have been so much more kind of. He should have been a lot more sinister than he was, than just.
Yeah,
like,
I agree with that.
I agree with that.
I think
I would
the
also,
biggest problem is Florence Pugh's fantastic in
Yes.
it. Even though I didn't like the film, can't take away from the fact that she's
Yep.
brilliant. And as I said, I really like Chris Pine now. I'm sure Harry Styles would have been fine, maybe opposite other people, but she's so good in it that every
outshines
time they're
everyone,
on screen together, he just fades into the background.
Yep.
My only note about him is that the only thing positive about him is that he does good fringe acting. Like the wig, there's not much wig work in it, but his fringe does quite a lot to just hide his face, so we don't actually have to see what his emotions are doing.
To his defense, I guess we have to credit the writing and the director as
Totally,
well.
as
Because
well.
when I think back of the dialogue and the scene that he was given, he didn't have much room for interpretation to work. He didn't have like a little gray area scenes that you could play with. It was
Well,
more like
he
was either having sex with her somewhere. Like
Yeah.
it was
Those sex scenes were quite rude as well. I was quite shocked.
Yeah,
to
but
see Harry
also
Styles
it's quite
doing that.
interesting that a film that a lot of its marketing was based around the sex scenes and stuff like that has
Yes.
2 sex scenes in the entire film.
Yeah,
Okay.
Even they really put a lot of the marketing
Mm.
and stuff on it, which is interesting that you say it's on the director. Have you seen the Olivia Wilde clip resurfacing from a few years ago? No. When she was on the Stephen Colbert show, and she's like, if it's a bad movie, that means it's a bad director. It's like, you should have not said that, because that's going to come back and bite you.
Yeah, and I've seen
I
that.
don't think it's a
Yeah.
bad movie.
Do you
no, I
know
wouldn't
what?
call it a bad film.
I wouldn't call it a bad film, but as I said, it's probably worse. It's that it's a boring
I
film.
love Florence Pugh. I agree 100%. Like, she carries the film single-handedly. I love the set design, the architecture, the outfits, the makeup. Like, I love that world. So it kind of put me like...
The first 10 minutes, I was like, everyone's going to be loving the aspirational village, the decor, the
It was
outfits.
beautiful. And also, you know, I do think it goes far beyond Once Upon a Time in Hollywood vibes, because when I think of their house, there is that sort of darkness in it as well. So even like the production elements, you notice there are like they're quite harsh angles in the furniture they use.
50s, mid-century
Yeah,
sort of
and then you
designs.
have some softer colors. It's almost like they tried with that community to create the illusion of comfort and perfection, but you can see the roughness in some. Like, I thought there was a lot of effort put into the set design,
And then
to
that
your
matched really well with the sound design. And they used that kind of ASMR style.
as
stuff.
well.
So you had a lot of that. It reminded me a bit of like Darren Aronofsky. And
Very Aronofsky, very fountain-like.
yeah,
sometimes.
so the scenes in Requiem for a Dream where they have the transition shots and it's the drug taking shots they keep repeating with the syringe plunging and then the eye dilating.
Yep.
And it was the same with the coffee stirring, the toast being
Exactly.
buttered, the eggs frying in the pan.
I had the exact same thing, and I would also add very Kubrick-like. But that is my main issue with the film. When you look away from the actors and the plot, I actually feel like the weakest thing about the film is Olivia Wilde's directing. I just feel like it's a very poorly directed film.
There's
Because
Olivia.
you know when Alice had a breakdown in the ballerina, ballroom, and everyone was like, oh, shocked. And everyone had the same reaction. As in, like, Olivia Wilde said, everyone, can you just act a bit shocked, like it was having a breakdown? Or at the dinner scene when there was like this whole fallout with
Confrontation.
Yeah,
of
between
Frank.
Chris Pine's character and Alice and Florence Pugh's character.
So Alice takes on Frank.
Yeah, so they had like a one-to-one, like a bit of a fallout, and then at some point abruptly everyone stands up and leaves. Like, you know, it was the kind of small moments that made it feel like theater productions in a way.
And I have to say, Gemma Chan is criminally underused in the film.
100%.
So I know her from Fresh Meat.
I know her
Gemma
from
Chan
Human.
Fresh Meat, was she?
I know her from
She's in
Humans.
the drama class. And
Is she?
she's the
Ooh.
seductress in the drama class.
Because
Okay.
Gemma Chan's like, she's brilliant.
I love her
and
in Humans. Yeah.
but you get to the end of the film and there's
was
this
that
big
about?
character switch.
Yeah,
You're like,
what was that about?
I was hoping that she would have been more involved in it. There would have been something a lot more, but then she just
So with that character, we went from, I'm super submissive to
Submissive,
my supportive to my husband because he did the whole like rant in the dinner scene, to I'm gonna take over, fuck you asshole, like like fake full female empowerment, like, which I'm gonna say like this is my last issue with the film, is the actual ending where you have the message, like it's a very vague female empowerment. Like, Florence Pugh's character escapes and she goes to the, she escapes to the real world. We don't know what happens there. The very final scene, we hear her kind of waking up. I think you just hear go like, I think you hear this. So that's an assumed ending, which is very Inception-like, very Prisoners-like, sing with a whistle. But the difference with these films is that they have earned their ending. With that, you have way too many unresolved storylines.
The story as a whole would have probably been a lot more interesting if we saw more from Gemma Chan's character and Olivia Wilde's character, to get their motivations behind. Like, we get 30 seconds for her being like, Olivia Wilde's character being like, I chose to be here. Okay, sorry. Okay, really interesting.
Yeah.
Once we know that this is all a simulation, actually, it's really interesting to want to know why you were there with your...
Remember, because she chose to be there because it let her have children.
Yeah, no,
it's basically WandaVision.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Which is basically what?
WandaVision.
Yeah, WandaVision. It's the Marvel storyline completely stolen.
She lost her kids in the real world, so she's in the simulation.
Yeah, but that's more...
Yes.
But like...
To create a new world.
You can't just throw that away at the end.
Yeah.
Like there could be so much more to that in it, and like
it could be a limited series easily. It could be a limited series easily as well. I actually think it would be better off because it had so many characters that had their very own. Like you could have an episode on Gemma Chan, like, and then Olivia
100%.
Wilde. So because if I'm honest, like it is like the premise is actually quite fascinating. Like I really love the twist. I really did, but it just had so many unresolved storylines and plot holes, which
it asks so many questions in the last 30 minutes and then just doesn't answer any of them. It asks so many questions and then it just kind of ends really abruptly.
Yeah. The reason I call it an assumed ending is by the time it cuts to black, you don't actually question the ending. It's not like an ambiguous ending. It's like, oh, cool, I don't need to know anything else because I kind of know what's gonna happen.
It's resolved.
It's resolved. Well, in the case of Don't Worry, Darling, it almost feels like there could be a sequel. Like, what happens in the real world now? Like,
or Simon's favorite post-credit sequence.
Oh, yeah.
If I could re-edit it, even though I love the editing techniques and stuff, but in terms of like the structure, I would have cut 15 minutes out of that intro sequence that builds the 50s perfect world and used that at the end to sort out some of the depth of the wife of Frank and the neighbor Bunny.
We didn't really get much from Nick Kroll's character either. Of he's just a bit of a dick and we don't kind of really know why. He treats the other neighbor like shit. We don't really know why. No. There was just so many kind of unanswered questions in it, and it just ends. That ending, the fact that she's driving away, part of it, like it feels like it's going 100 miles an hour, and then you hit a brick wall and you're like, oh, okay.
Having said all that, I found Alice's story gripped me enough to really enjoy it. Plus the editing, plus the sound design.
So we did Us a couple of weeks ago, and there's a lot in Us which is like homages to different directors, and it's like you see different pastiches. You see different bits of it. Don't Worry, Darling just looks like copy and paste and cut and paste from a lot of different films. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's why every different time I kept being like, okay, it's going to turn out like an M. Night Shyamalan ending. Oh, okay, it's like Darren Aronofsky. Oh, like there was so many different, as you say, it's kind of like, what's the director's identity there? And I don't necessarily know if it came through.
That's it. Like Booksmart is amazing. It's an amazing film. Like I love that film.
Which one?
Booksmart, which is
the Beanie Feldstein.
Yeah, it's her first debut film. Very different, like comedy, coming of age comedy. Like very smart, very creative. Like she really took a spin to the whole like teenage coming of age humor film. So I don't know. I expect something else. In any case, I think we really sold the ending actually. No? Do you think, right?
So what happens is Gemma Chan's character, Frank's wife, she knifes him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the end.
Shelley. She takes over.
So in a way, the takeaway message could be that the women who are like basically oppressed, despite the fact a couple of them seem to have chosen to be there.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense because the last thing we saw from her was her defending him. Mm-hmm. So it was all a play. It wasn't clear.
You're right, because I mean, what does Frank's wife do after she's knifed him? Does she then manage to get out of the simulation and then...
Or is Frank's wife even in the simulation?
Yeah, she a made-up person?
Yeah, and why is she leading an incel community of men now?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or is she even leading the incel community of men? Is she just like, oh, screw you, man, you're dead?
Maybe the other men aren't incels, that they're all made up as well. Maybe they're not real.
But his podcast is very much like men's rights, women cook, men work. Like that was the
that she listens to in the morning.
His actual job in real life was like a Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson kind of. You remember Harry Styles' character listening to the podcast?
Yeah, I didn't really get it at first.
Yeah, so that was the background. He was saying like
he says that in his opening speech, doesn't he? He's like, we ask for very little, but we also ask for a lot.
Yeah.
When you make us dinner and we ask you to keep quiet.
Yeah, I have no idea why Gemma Chan did what she did, like your character anyway.
Does Gemma Chan even know what she did? She did what she did.
She was happy to be there.
At least she didn't spit on him. That's probably what Chris Pine's thinking.
So that was the semi-final scene. And then the final scene was, Florence Pugh's character escaping. And then that's when
she gets to the headquarters, she puts her hands on the glass, and then the kind
cut to black.
Yeah.
And we hear which is my assumption is her actual, like her real life version waking up.
In her bed with the weird eye things on.
Yeah, because that's what we've been told, that's what happens every day. They all drive up the mountain and they all just leave.
And then next to her is her husband who's dead. Who's dead.
What happens with what does it do with the body? Like it's like FBI. Like I don't know. Just What is
what do you do?
Yeah.
She's a doctor. She'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think that's a film by itself. That's the thing. Like what happens now.
But maybe there will be a sequel. But we don't know that they die in real life.
Maybe there'll be a sequel that's called I'm Worried, Darling.
Or another one, It's Fine.
Yeah. Well, no, we do know because that's what Olivia Wilde says to her. Is like if you die, if the men die in here, they die in real life. She said that to her. She's like, if he's dead, he's dead.
That's pretty. Yeah.
If he's dead in here, he's dead in the real world. She says that to her.
What? So so Bunny says that.
Yeah, Bunny says it to her when she comes in and finds her.
Can we believe that as truth?
It's a very
because remember, there's lots of
trope. It's a Matrix trope.
Stuff going around in that village.
No, I think that was probably a dialogue line that was inserted very last minute because they didn't have enough time to shoot, and so Olivia Wilde was like, "Can we just make sure that we put that somewhere just so people don't get confused?"
I was watching this great movie last night. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's called The Matrix.
It came across as. To me anyway, like Bunny knew actually a lot more than she let on, so it does sound to me that she was pretty certain about what happened.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's really kind of disappointing that we didn't get to see that more. Like her just talking about the fact that why she's there at the end. There's probably a lot more interesting.
Yep.
It felt like, as you say, there should be a sequel to it because there's some really interesting ideas in it to explore other than just.
I would see Florence Pugh do that role for another 2 hours easily. Like just her, I don't know, just being Alice Chambers.
Her just dreamy on camera.
Yeah. Her just going on a superhero mission now to find all the men in their simulations and free them all.
That'd be so cool. Yeah.
Which again is like, the ending of The Matrix where Neo says, you may not know this is a simulation, but we will free you type thing. Maybe that's what Florence Pugh will do next. She'll fly off and save everybody. Because that's what happens once you get out, you get superpowers so you can fly. It's great.
A side note for Olivia Wilde, because I know I've been very harsh with her. She actually acted very well. I think she was really good.
Yeah, she did a really good job.
Yeah, so.
Especially towards the end when you see her starting to break a little bit, because obviously that's why I say about Harry Styles' performances is that Olivia Wilde is a bit more kind of turmoil about the fact that she knows what's going on and she knows why Florence Pugh is she knows exactly what's going on. So you do see a little bit of the inner turmoil with her, whereas with Harry Styles you just don't get that. Stick to the day job, Hardy, is what I would say.
Well, we'll see him in My Policeman next.
Apparently that's even worse. Great. I've already heard the reviews for that one.
Great.
This is why you shouldn't listen to the reviews before
you watch. If we think there isn't enough nuance with Don't Worry, Darling, My Policeman is supposedly worse.
What's that about?
My Policeman is like a kind of a multi-year story about a gay policeman in the 70s.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying.
With Emma Corrin from The Crown.
Yep.
And Harry Styles and someone else.
We're seeing that in London Film Festival too.
Cool.
And Matilda, My Policeman Double Bill is going to be a hell of a watch.
Okay. The ending has been, I don't want to say solved because it's actually unsolved. I think that's the issue with that film.
I would say go and see it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and I'd be really interested to hear people's thoughts. Yes. I really would be. And I listen, maybe I'm just being outrageously grumpy about this.
We can give an update on our reactions in 2 weeks' time. In our next episode.
That's a good show.
So next time we're doing Halloween.
We're going to do a Halloween special. We're still finalizing which films we're going to be talking about, but get ready. This was fun. So as always, you know what to do. Subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen.
You get your podcasts,
YouTube. I'm hearing a lot of you are on YouTube trying to find us, so we're on there.
Are we?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
We have a YouTube channel.
Oh shit! Even I didn't know that.
I'm uploading our podcast episodes are there as well. So we will see you in 2 weeks. Goodbye.
Did you like it? Did you like that?
Did I like it? I loved it.
I had no idea you could milk a cat.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.